Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is a Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, October 4th. First off, remember to tell your friends to sign up for my content. They can do not just to get information on the weather briefing, but also throughout the week, bluewateroutlook.com. Anyway, let's get started with the briefing. A lot to talk about. I want to talk about the tropics, I want to talk about the drought, and I want to talk about the really warm weather. Let's get started. Well, one of the hot spots last week was the coastal erosion. A number of homes along the North Carolina Outer Banks were destroyed due to the surge in wind and wave action. Wave action, not so much wind, along the coast with Imelda here and Humberto here. Both of these are taking that track up to the northeast. Matter of fact, they're not even in the picture right now. Another story we had is the ongoing drought. Really dry conditions. This plot here, this graph, shows a number of days with rainfall greater than 1/10 of an inch of rain. Dark and medium shades of red indicate just a handful of days. So it's been really many days without significant rain. So we have two droughts really going on. We have a persistent West Coast drought, and then in the east, we have a drought that emerged over the summer months and is continuing into the fall. Now, I put out a post this past week showing that there was a band of heavy rain along the Ohio River, but it only provided limited relief to just a few areas. So the rain we got last week, did it produce any benefits? Well, not really. Here's the Imelda's rain, sort of hugged the coast and never made U.S. landfall, but just dry conditions in the entire area of drought. Now, maybe some drought relief in the west in spots, but overall a pretty quiet week. What about the tropics this week? We're still in peak hurricane season, and when a frontal boundary stalls in the Gulf of Mexico and get an area of low pressure that develops on it, those could develop into a tropical system. Now, right now it's a low probability. I don't see it developing into much right now, but we'll keep an eye on it. This system here is a better chance moving off of Africa, developing as it moves into the main development region. I looked at some of the ensemble models. If it does develop, it again tends to move it off to the north and then northeast, not affecting the U.S. So we will keep an eye on that too. But right now, low probability, medium probability, and if it does, it wouldn't affect the area, the mainland this week. It might affect the Virgin Islands. Globally, in case you're interested, there are other typhoons and eastern Pacific hurricanes. It is the peak of tropical system season in the northern hemisphere, where waters are quite warm. Now, talking about really warm conditions, take a look at the temperature departures last week. We had temperature departures 10 to 15 degrees above normal, and that's a weekly average, especially over the upper Midwest. And areas in yellow made it above 85 degrees. So Minnesota, North Dakota, areas that are normally really in fall, crisp weather, cool weather, chilly weather in the morning, have unusually warm weather. I want to make a quick mention about rivers. Rivers are also beginning to run really low in many spots due to the drought conditions. All these areas here shaded in, tributaries and rivers are running in low flow. And if you look at the main stem rivers, upper Mississippi, Ohio, lower Mississippi, they're all getting very close to this brown shaded region, and that's low flow. So there very well could be disruption of commodities, fall, harvest, transport due to low flow and barge restrictions. Now what we have here, we have this big area of high pressure, and that's what's causing the warm weather. But as we go through the week, an area of low pressure will affect us, and what that will do is gradually bring temperatures down, but temporarily. Now let's look at the big picture again, sort of jump out here. Look at these 5-day chunks. This goes through mid to late October. Look how much of the nation, with maybe the exception of the far west, is forecast to experience to some degree above normal temperatures. Now, like this weekend, we could have really warm weather, or we could have near to a little bit above normal weather as we go through the next week or so. Now here's one extreme. Look at Minneapolis this weekend. Today we are looking at a heat index level 2. We are looking at 91 degrees, but then as that low pushes a cold front through, we pull back into more seasonal 60s as we go through the week. So that's the type of change we're going to have, as many parts of the nation have been really warm, a little bit more seasonal temperatures. Now, any wet rain to break the drought. In the Ohio River Basin, there could be maybe up to an inch of rain, half inch of rain, quarter inch of rain. Most of that's just going to soak into the ground, not much runoff. This area here, we could get some excessive rain, very small area, but that could affect tributaries. We could get some excessive rain. Now, the tropical lows, they could bring some coastal heavy rain to the North Gulf Coast and then the eastern coast of Florida. So that could be some heavy tropical rain. I don't see much sign now that it's going to be transported too far north. Now let's look at week 2 here. And this is the story I'm talking about here, is above normal temperatures. It looks like temperatures, after maybe a little bit of a reprieve later this week, will be coming back up, and maybe some drought improvement in the west and the southwest. Monsoonal flow, so we could have some drought relief and maybe some flood potential in the southwest U.S. as we get into later this week into next week. But areas in drought in the east, I don't see much drought relief. So anyway, in summary, this week I don't see a whole lot of significant rain. We're sort of watching the west and southwest for later in the week into week 2. Drought's going to continue to develop, expand, or intensify in many areas, and overall the tropics look like there will be some development, but not significantly affecting the U.S. That's this week's briefing. Hope you have a great week. Take care.